Good morning, my dear friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Medical Classes by Dr. Srinidhi Kumar Acharya. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also please give your valuable comments. You can also visit the playlist. In the playlist, I have provided almost all the topics in a very systematic order. You can make use of it. Thank you very much. My dear friends, since last class, we have started with a new topic, that is development. Concept of development in pediatric practice and its importance. So in the first class we have seen some of the basics, like what do you mean by growth and development, what is developmental delay, what do you mean by static developmental delay, what do you mean by progressive developmental delay, and regression, differential development, etc. So today we'll continue with the same. So before going into the examination of development in a newborn child or in the pediatric practice, first we should know on what basis we will going to assess the development. One of the best way of assessment of the development is domain wise. Domain wise development we have to follow. Basically in the development or in the developmental milestones, so we have got 4 or 5 important developmental domains. So one of the domain is gross motor domain, another one is fine motor and vision domain, language and hearing domain, social and adaptive domain, and last one is cognitive domain. Some of the authors do not believe in cognitive because for rest of all the 4 cognition is must and should, so there is no mentioning is required. But anyway, in some of the books it is given as cognition as separate domain, and in some of the books it is not given. But most commonly gross motor, fine motor, language and social. So these are considered as the 4 important domains of the development. Now when you assess the developmental milestone, you have to assess it domain wise. First, if you see gross motor, the gross motor domain means this involves most of the proximal group of the muscles. Now development of the proximal group of the muscles. Of course, muscles are governed by the nerves which are supplied from the CNS. We know that the spinal nerves. So if these muscles are okay, that suggests that gross motor is okay. For example, all the muscles of the proximal group of the muscles, so they comes under the gross motor domain, axial muscles, truncal muscles, posture maintenance, so muscles related to posture maintenance, so these are all comes under the area of gross motor domain. If there is any problem in this particular domain, so you will have a lot of problem related to the movement, because proximal muscles are very important for the bodily movement, locomotor movement. Okay, so if there is any problem in the gross motor domain, so most probably the movement or walking of the child is get affected, and the skeletal muscle activities will be get affected. So most commonly we will get this in case of spinal muscular atrophies, okay, a dystrophies like condition, or sometimes even in spastic cerebral palsy, where the proximal group of the muscles are affected more. So this comes under the area of gross motor domain. Similarly, fine motor domain. Fine motor domain is mostly involves the distal muscles. They mostly involves the distal muscle, because fine motor, suppose pill rolling or threading the needle, etc. So they require the skillful activity, fine modified activities. Okay, so therefore for the pilling, rolling and eating and threading the needle, etc. So actually requires the distal most muscles. Similarly, there are so many muscles which are there in the facial area, especially in the orbital area, which involves the eyeball. So eyeball adjustment of the eyeball, including the ciliary muscles, etc. So they are also considered as the smaller muscles or the distal muscles, and they are very important for the proper functioning of the visual apparatus. So whenever the vision is get affected, maybe because of the involvement of the optic nerve or whatever, mostly we will have the loss of fine motor domain milestones. Okay, so fine motor domain is related mostly with the distal muscles and all the fine motor movements, and this is very important for the proper development of the vision, and also some of the acoustic muscles, that is the muscles of the ear. Third domain is language and hearing. You can say totally communication. You can say communication, language or hearing. So lingual, you can call it as lingual. Now language domain greatly depends upon how much clearly he is hearing. That's very important. Cognition. So language is basically depends on the what depends on the fact that what is the level of cognition. If the cognition is good, naturally the language development communication skill will be good. Okay, now it basically depends upon how much he is able to hear or how much clearly he is able to hear, and it depends upon the environment and also the training. Language developmental milestone development also depends on the training and supportive environmental factors. Okay, now here language for the language cognition is very important, I told. So suppose somebody is asking my name, I can answer my name is like this only if I hear that or listen it. Suppose somebody is asking me some question, I am not able to listen it. Although I am able to listen, I am not able to decode the meaning, so then I cannot answer back. I cannot give a motor response. Okay, so if the receptive perception itself is affected, then there will not be any expressive language. Okay, so what Kashyapa says, so one part of the Vak Indriya is related to the reception, another part of the Vak Indriya is related to the expression. If the both are affected, then it is called as Vak Bhramsha, Mula Bhramsha, Vak Mula Bhramsha. Okay, Vadati and Granhati. So these are the words used by Kashyapa in Vakachekisa. So here also, for the that's also when the Vak Bhramsha itself takes place, it leads to deaf mutism. He is not able to talk and he is not able to hear. Okay, so expressive knowledge and receptive knowledge. So language development depends upon this. Okay, so therefore for this cognition is very important. Therefore cognition is intermixed here. Important of cognition is intermixed here. Another important developmental milestone is social developmental milestone. It is also called as social or adaptive developmental milestone. Adaptive developmental milestone. That is socially how the child is able to move. Starting from the social smile, waving tata, bye bye, giving the smile and talking to the strangers, and then thereafter how he is moving in the society. All these things depends upon the social developmental milestone. Now, again, what is very important to develop the proper social developmental milestone is the interaction. In the initial part of the life, the mother has to continuously interact with the child, and later family members should interact with the child. Then the other friends and other members should continuously interact with the child. Then only the social development of the child will going to develop. Otherwise, child will be socially withdrawn. There will not be any proper social developmental milestone. This is the reason why nowadays autism, etc. conditions or some of the learning disorders are increasing, because nowadays neurobehavioral disorders are increasing, because nowadays the interaction with the child is very, very minimum. Okay, mother has got no time, father has got no time, like that child is not interacting and also spending maximum time with the mobile and all those things. There is no face-to-face interaction to the child. Then how come you are expecting that social developmental milestone has to develop? That's the reason for increasing trend of autism like disorders. Anyway, so this is important social and adaptive developmental milestone. Similarly, there is one more important developmental milestone which is not mentioned by many books, that is cognitive. Because for social, language, fine motor and gross motor, cognition is always important, because cognition portion, that is understanding cognition, so that will be maintained by or managed by the cerebral cortex, the gray matter which is present in the cerebral cortex and in the basal ganglia and hypothalamus area. Okay, so that is a very key area. Any damage to these particular areas definitely leads to cognition problem. Once the cognition is affected, you will have also delayed social developmental milestone, language developmental milestones, communication developmental milestones, and fine motor developmental milestone. To some extent, also the gross motor developmental milestones. Of course, the gross motor basically depends upon the white matter. Okay. But many times it is not exclusively the white matter which is affected. Many of the times some of the grey matter is also affected when the injury is happening. At the time of the injury, nobody will go and differentiate which is grey matter, which is white matter, isn't it? So it's a routinely or randomly it is taking place when injury taking place. If the injury is only to the white matter, then only the movement portion is get affected and cognition will be absolutely normal. In some of the cases we will see. Sometimes both grey matter and white matter both are affected. Then child with the movement problems also will have some of the cognition problem, as most commonly we will see in case of mixed type of CPs. So these are the four important domains of development. So whenever we are asking the developmental milestone, it should be asked on this basis. It should not be asked on the random basis. First identify the gross motor developmental milestone, then try to identify the development of fine motor, then language and communication, and then come social and adaptive, like that. Then you will get a particular idea that which particular domain is get affected more, or whether it's only one domain is affected or multiple domains are affected. Okay, so details of this, how you have to ask these questions and all, so that we'll see in the next class. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also please give the valuable comments. Thank you very much.